big up, everybody. It's your boy, Mark and MUFC fan. Big up to you. I hope you're enjoying your day. Can you hear me? Audio check, mic check, one, two, three. Big up. Can you hear me? Guys, is I don't know how if you're hearing me right now, but if you're in the chat, smash a like and leave your comments. It's the transfer market show. Big news as Man United are set or said to be in advanced negotiations as Brentford are starting to show some signs that they are acceptant of a 65 million guaranteed deal that would see them get 65 million with all add-ons triggered. You know what I mean? There's 5 million in add-ons that will be impossible, but it's a 70 million deal in total for Brian Umbremo, and it's looking like this deal is set to be concluded in the coming next days. It's going to be interesting, guys. I can't say it will happen tonight. I can't say it will happen tomorrow, but I expect it to happen at any moment, guys, because Man United are prepared to pay Brentford what they want. In order for Man United to be able to pay that down payment in advance and pay on terms, Brentford has to get what they demand, and that's the fee that they're demanding. And apparently, Man United are ready to give that fee. So it's an interesting situation. I'm not too stressed on it. Big up to Niall Kane. Big up to you, my bro. You can hear me. Hope everything is well. Saw you on YouTube for a while. Hope everything is well with you. Well, I'm not in Trinidad, bro, but I'm in Germany, and but yeah, Trinidad has been going through the World Cup as well. World Cup qualifying coming up in September. Dwight York, the new head coach, and he's been doing some good developmental things. But right now, it's about Manchester United and the transfer window, and it's exciting for me for us to be getting Brian and Bremo. I'm more excited about Bremo than I was about Cunha. Excuse me. I'm not the biggest fan of Matthias Cunha, but I know he will fit the system, and we're hopefully, like Niall is saying, yeah, hopefully there'll be many more signings to come. We need to also replace players that were leaving. We have players like Victor Lindelof as well as Johnny Evans leaving the club. We need to bring in one centre back to replace them, and Crystal Palace are talking to Diamade, the generational centre back from Sporting Lisbon. I don't know what Man United Chiefs are doing, but they're talking about something like 35 million pounds. How could you let Diamade go to, to that team, to Crystal Palace for 35 million pounds? Are you crazy? That 20-year-old monster, yeah, he needs to be in our back line with our youth project that they were talking about. But these they talk a lot in this structure, and then they do some different things. I mean, the manager, everyone knows that Sporting had a gentleman's agreement with Gyökeres, and our manager also had an interest because he wanted us to bring the player with him. And it's really funny that they prioritized Liam Delap over Victor Gyökeres, and Manchester United fans don't seem to think that Victor Gyökeres felt somewhat disrespected by that. And I would tell you guys that if I was Victor Gyökeres, I would feel disrespected too. How could you compare me to the likes of Liam Delap? That guy barely scored 12 goals. I mean, Højlund had 13 goals this season, shockingly. You know what I mean? You might say it's all comps, but at the same time, he had a shit season and he did better than Liam Delap that everybody wants to sign, whose Man United's priority is not even actually better than the developmental striker that we have. It's a crazy thing. People say they don't want to get Victor Gyokeres now. Well, I'll tell you guys what. I don't care if he spoke to Arsenal. I don't even care if he speaks to Liverpool, who's joining the race to sign him. Now with the fact that they have an agreement on the release of Darwin Nunez to another club, it's interesting that they are looking at Gyokeres as well. They had identified him as a possible target, but I don't think they would be likely to spend 80 million pounds on this player as well. After breaking the transfer record fee to sign Florian Wirtz, I don't think they're going to do that. Although they have been linked with a 200 million euro deal for Isak, Alexander Isak. Yeah, it's an interesting one, guys. And Man United are doing business. We've signed Mateus Cunha, 62 million pounds in the bank. but we need more. Our rivals are signing and strengthening. It's happening all over. And you can see Man City spent a further 240 million after spending near 280 million in January. And it's likely that, other clubs are going to strike. We definitely need to be moving forward with transfers. We cannot allow these signings to come in July or in August. We need them now. Man City has all their signings already. And people could say, well, they had the Club World Cup. Well, exactly. Imagine how their signings are going to hit the ground after already playing in the Club World Cup or training with the team in the Club World Cup. We don't have that advantage. And we finished 15th last season. It's crazy. I don't even understand the blind faith some of these people just have in the fact that the manager is going to sign some more players and they're all going to be great, right? Wrong. It's not so easy, guys. It's definitely not going to be that easy. It's definitely not going to be that easy. Pick up to Mark Davies in the building. Big up to you, Mark. Where are we getting him? When are we getting him? Bremo, will we get here? We go. I'm not sure about today, bro. But what I can tell you is that the rumors and all the talks from some of the tier one journalists are that Brentford are leading towards accepting the current proposal, which is 65 million guaranteed, in achievable add-ons. And well, of course, there's 5 million in unachievable add-ons, but it should be on paper a $70 million deal. You know what I mean? It's going to be done very soon. Of course, they're going to have to check the I's and and cross the T's and stuff like that. But I expect it to happen pretty quickly. It's. I know how everyone feels. I'm hoping that it had happened before we launched the kit 2.5 weeks ago. But yeah, it's been dragging on because, well, Man United weren't trying to pay Brentford the 65 million pounds that they wanted guaranteed. And Man United were asking Brentford to take 20 million this down and then take 10 million a year for the next 4 seasons. And Brentford said, nah. But they said, if you want to do that, we'll take 65. So United are now prepared to spend 65 after 2 weeks of haggling. And I guess it's going to be very, very soon. What Fabrizio Romano has reported, which is also bothering me, is the fact that there is some suspect that Liverpool is joining the race for Victor Gyokeres, and that could hurt us. Other than that, there's some interesting news coming out of Italy where they are set that Inter Milan are set to make a 35 million euro bid for Rasmus Højlund, 35 to 40 million euros, I believe. And I don't think that's enough. I know some fans would say, let's just get rid of him, but we need at least 15 million euros to break even. We spent 70 million pounds. We need to at least get 45 back. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know about you guys, but it's some interesting news. Man United also set the selling price for Alejandro Garnacho to 45 million pounds. So it was earlier 55. They've dropped it by 10 million because apparently they want to get him out. They want to get him gone and they want it now. You know what I mean? How many players do I think we will get? That's an interesting question because, if we sell Garnacho, there are reports that Barcelona is coming in for a loan for Marcus Rashford, a full season loan where they will pay all his wages. There's also going to be an interesting situation where there's a possibility that Anthony might be leaving to Betis for somewhere around 35 to 40 million euros. That's going to be interesting. If those three moves happen, I expect us to sign another midfielder and a top striker. And hopefully Diamade for the centre back role. There are some reports that Manchester United are looking at the likes of Mila Vila from the Roma goalkeeper, as well as Vanya Milinkovic Savic, who is said to be in the midst of a negotiation between the likes of Napoli and his current club. And they said that Napoli have bid 18 million euros, and there are rumors that Man United are waiting for the selling club to accept this price before coming in with just a little bit extra to sign the player as a hijack. And there are similar reports going around with other players as well that other clubs are talking to in this current moment, and Man United are just waiting in the wings to see. if that club will agree a fee. And I'm hoping that's something, and that's what we're doing also with Diamade, who's in the topic of discussion between Sporting Lisbon and Crystal Palace in this current moment. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, Mark Davies, but I expect us to sign like at least three more players, in my honest opinion. And I would like us to be looking at that like this guy who played last season for Southampton, the left wing back. He terrorized Lenny Euro. Very interesting wing back. I really liked his style. I think he was pretty interesting, very talented and dribbling, very good on the ball, good engine on him. He can play that left wing back role 10 times better than Dorgu can. And I think he won't be that expensive. I think Southampton wants something like 24 million pounds for the player. Let's see what happens. Man United are looking at a lot of players, including a Swedish player as well, but I won't report on that. There's no confirmation that we are actually in for that player as well. Is the Gyökeres story true? United in face to face about United in face to face talks. Yes, it is very much true that United are in face to face talks with Victor Gyokeres. We have been in face to face talks with Victor Gyokeres and his agent for the last 2.5 weeks. The biggest problem, Jono, is that the biggest problem is that Man United had put themselves in a driver's seat with the Europa League final, but losing that final made things quite difficult because it also put a little bit of a spoke on how we can spend and the way we can spend the summer because we would have been $200 million richer had we won the Europa League final, but we didn't. We would have also had Champions League, which would have beat Gyökeres, which is I understand the ideology that fans want players to come and play for the badge, but a player like Gyökeres, who's coming off of scoring 64 goals last season, he deserves to play in a top tournament. And the Premier League is just that, but also the Champions League. And you know what? It's a difficult one. We don't know the discussions, but what we do know is that they had in a previous agreement verbally on what would be the perspective terms of a contract if they were to get to that situation. United agreed. Gyökeres was okay with that. So definitely the negotiations aren't difficult when it comes to the player. With Man United, of course, we are probably offering somewhere in the region of 270,000 per week to 300K per week. That's not guaranteed by me, but I can tell you prospectively that that's somewhere in the range that the player will be paid. And the interesting part is that Man United are definitely not pulling out of this deal. So we are in for the player. He has to be our priority. Apparently, there was a dispute between the manager and Wilcox over Delap and Gyökeres. There's some people in the Man United camp that think Gyökeres will struggle, and there are others who believe that he will be successful. It's interesting and it's weird. You know what I mean? Big up to Craig Bobby. Long time no see, Craig. I hope you're well. Hopefully, I'll see you soon sometime in England for this season. I'm definitely going to come to a game, but, I'm disappointed the prices are raising. We're only in the Prem, but who knows? Yeah, it might be a good season. The Sancho deal is an interesting one, Mark Davies, because there are some reports that Juventus is very much interested in the player. They wanted him last summer, but were unable to get him. They are willing to make a bid for the player, not just a loan, but what they're offering, I'm not sure if United is interested. They're offering something in the region of 27 million euros. I think United wants to take them somewhere in the region of 35 million euros, which is around 25 million pounds. But let's see how it goes. Jadon Sancho is demanding a lot of money. Maybe if United gets the funding that they're looking for, maybe they might put something on the top to pay some of his wages. Let's see how it goes. I wouldn't mind accepting 30 million euros for Sancho and give 35 million euros for Sancho and giving him five. That's just me. Get the problem gone. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there with the Sancho deal. Keep an eye on it. There's also some negotiations that might just see this. What's his name again? Ah, I always forget this guy's name when I have to talk about him. This is the guy who dates what's her name? Alicia Lemon. What's this guy's name again? The DM who used to play for Aston Villa. who plays for Juventus right now. There are some reports that it might be a swap deal involved where that player comes this way and Sancho goes that way. It could be very interesting if that was to happen. Douglas Luiz, I would take him certainly. Jono, I think Douglas Luiz would be very good in our midfield next to Bruno with Ugarte as well. He's a dogged midfielder. He has all the ability. He can pick a pass. He can score a goal as well. I think he would thrive. You know what I mean? And it's not gonna be an expensive deal. If it's a swap deal for Jadon Sancho, let's just say 10 million and Douglas Luiz, I would take it. I would take it. I don't know about you, but I would take it. You know what I mean? And I would take Alicia Lemon too for the United women team for her to score some goals for United. I think, she would look better in a United kit as well than the Juventus kit. I think that kit is horrible. You know what I mean? But yeah, let's see how it goes, guys. Those are some interesting teams that could be happening in the next few weeks. Now, I expect United to get another two signings in the fall in the next couple of days. It's very much interesting. United are looking at a young defender from Italy that plays, and I keep telling everyone, do not sleep because we might be bringing an unknown defender coming in. I believe he's coming from Udinese, but we'll see how it goes, guys. There's some interesting reports. There's always going to be interesting news. And as I say, guys, always, Man United are going to try to sign players. Hopefully, they sign some better players. Hopefully we replace some of the players who are outgoing, players like Anthony and Garnacho being sold. We definitely need to bring in something attacking quality to come in there. Who knows? They might promote the likes of Camerson. You might see a one or two youngsters be promoted into the squad. Now, I would hope for this as well as I would hope for us to get that senior striker that is going to guarantee us goals. The Bayern Munich midfielder, you're talking about Kimmich. Yeah, Kimmich has been dead, bro. Like I live in Germany, the Bundesliga is not played at the pace of the Premier League. I don't think he would survive 10 game run. I think he'd be out injured for half the season. Eh, Of course, I would swap Douglas Luiz for Jadon Sancho, bro. I don't know if United is gonna do that deal, but I would definitely do it. He improves our midfield, and we get rid of a problem. And our wage bill drops down. I don't think he's even earning 200K at Juventus. I think he's earning 160. You know what I mean? And that's in euros. That's probably 150, 140 or 130,000 pounds. You know what I mean? So it should be a very easy deal. We would save money, improve our midfield at the same time. You get a player that could come in and pass the ball, break up the play. He's got a good engine, and he's a definite goal threat. And he's got the shithousery as well. I mean, he is Brazilian after all. His link up with Cunha could be legendary. Don't know. I don't know. But, maybe there are also some reports that might scare you guys. There are some reports that Cunha is hoping that Anthony's giving a second chance because they are best friends. You never know, guys. You know what I mean? That's just something to talk about right there. That might bother some of the fans. Hopefully, don't stress you guys out too much. Man United are reportedly looking at, a host of different players right now. I hope that they get the best possible choices for the manager. I would like to see him successful. Of course, him being successful means Man United would be successful. You know what I mean? A lot of people are talking about the Garnacho wearing that Villa shirt with Marcus Rashford, while he's at a Villa. Yeah, like guys, you know what, bro? Like, I don't know. You could be mad at me, but I really don't care, bro. You know what I mean? I really don't care about that because you know what? It's the season is he's on vacation for 2 weeks. I don't care. I really don't care. People might say I'm mad, but I expect my players to perform where it matters on the pitch. I expect the best of my players on the pitch because that's what we pay them for, to win games. We don't pay them to be perfect human beings. And that's the funny thing. Big up to Jono. Have a great night, broski. See you later. Son. What you saying, bro? Son. I know, boy. Right now, I'm frustrated because, Man United and Trinidad had the same kind of situation going on in a kind of way. Our room. Oh, what sucks, dude? Yeah? Son. Yeah? What's mine, too? Yeah? Warum du fragst mich, du sprichst in Deutsch? It's not the best, but I get by. You know what I'm saying, son. And it's one of those interesting things. And I'd like to round up the show talking a little bit about international football. There's gonna be a lot of international football breaks next season, guys. You know what I mean? There's the World Cup qualifications for every single conference, and our team has a lot of national players. You know what I mean? The African Cup of Nations is coming up in January, and guys, it's going to be a long one because if you look at the players that you want the club to sign, Victor Osimhen goes to Nigeria in January. Brian Mbeumo goes to Cameroon. Onana goes to Cameroon. Amad Diallo goes to Ivory Coast. Mazarari goes to Morocco. We have five starters that are gone in January. Do you think Amarim can deal with that, bro? Do you think that? Yeah? I don't know, guys. You know what I mean? We need to sign some European talent. We need to sign some other talent who won't be going anywhere in January. Of course, we need to dig our heels in. We need to be a little bit patient as well. I mean, we already got this sacrificial ownership that was just going to help suck the lifeblood out of us even more, right? And talk about it in a nice way, like they're doing some amazing things when they're making terrible decisions since they got into the club. You know what I mean? You glad let Jackson go AFCON, man, is trash. Ah. Banger. But anyway, guys, you know what I mean? So, I'll pivot a little bit to talk about the internationals. And while talking about the internationals, because, I want to mention Trinidad and Dwight York, the former Manchester United, the current Manchester United legend, former player, you know, was the best player in the world at one point in time when we won that treble, 47 GA in a season, most goals in the Prem, most assists in the Europe in the Champions League, most goals as well in the Champions League. And MVP of the Premier League player, PFL player of the season, you know what I mean? Golden boot in the UCL as well, and he was not given the Ballon d'Or. But now he's the manager of Trinidad and Tobago, guys. And Trinidad didn't have the best Gold Cup campaign. We lost 5-0 to the USA, but we managed to win, to draw 1-1 twice, not only with Haiti, a 10-man Haiti, but also with Saudi Arabia in a game that was quite physical and one that I thought that, maybe the referee was a bit favorable to the Saudis as PIF is a sponsor of the tournament. But interestingly enough, it was not the best situation, but to be fair to everyone present, that tournament we had the best possible outcome in a sense because our team was able to get valuable playing time together that we don't normally have or can't normally afford, like the bigger footballing nations. And it's one of those things. I support one of the biggest clubs in world football, but I'm not from one of the biggest footballing nations in the world. I mean, 20 years ago, my country was ranked in the top 30. We were ranked as high as 27. We also made the World Cup as, the smallest nation in history to ever play at the World Cup as well in Germany. But at the same time, that 20 years has passed us by, just like Man United. Yeah, where we had seen constant regression, not only based on the fact that the coaches that we replaced that coach with were not good enough, the players' attitudes were poor, the level of football in the country ran low, and it's just like United and the Glazers. We had a government that really it does not invest in sport. So I don't know how you expect sport to boom. And not only that, but they made Adidas ban us because they took the 90 million pounds that Adidas gave us for football and they spread it around all sports to save themselves money. It was a terrible situation, guys, and it was really crappy. And to be honest, I have to say it like that because then I would just be cursing, and that's just not what I want to do right now, bro. I prefer York. I think Angus was doing a good job, but the biggest thing with Angus Eve is that he tinkers too much. He's like Amarim. Amarim gets to the final with a team that's performing all season, undefeated in Europe, going invincible. And guess what he does? He plays his favorite player, Mason Mount, and then